Hello. I know I covered, this is the final day of mental disorders. I know I covered these in the last video, but I left out factitious disorder. So let me go over these real quick and I'll focus with a focus on factitious disorder. I have never seen factitious disorder on the AP exam. That doesn't mean I'm not going to teach it, but here we go. So remember, with somatic symptom and related disorders, your mind has an incredible ability to create bodily sensations. For example, if I were to show you pictures of lice and tell you about lice and how there was lice all over the couch that you're sitting on or lice in your bed, you might start to itch and you might start to scratch. And it's all in your head. Okay? Just like if I told you that the person sitting where you are sitting right now had Ebola, you might start making up symptoms in your head and you might start feeling feverish. You might start feeling nauseous. You might start coughing and start actually feeling a few symptoms. That is somatic symptom disorder. It's when your mind creates bodily symptoms. And yesterday in class, I told a true story to my students about how I thought I had COVID. And for a day, I was dizzy, I was dumb. I really I couldn't walk for very much, and I certainly couldn't think. I could barely write an email. And then by Monday, I was totally healthy. So what happened? Did I have COVID? I don't think so. I think there were some other things wrong with me, but I think a lot of it was in my head. I was somaticizing. That's what was going on. Also, so that could include phantom pregnancy or hysterical pregnancy, where women think they're pregnant, so they get obsessed, and then they start to have symptoms. Now, a different disorder, it's the same classification, but a different, similar one is called conversion disorder. Conversion disorder is when a person loses the ability to use a body part. Your legs might stop working, but there's nothing wrong with your legs physically, it's in your head. Or you might go blind, but there's nothing wrong with your eyes. It's in your head. Imagine a soldier who goes blind, but there's nothing wrong with the soldier's eyes. That does happen. It's true, it does happen. So if a part of your body stops working, but there's nothing wrong with that part of your body, that's called conversion disorder. Okay? So which of the following types of disorders is characterized by complaints of bodily symptoms that do not have a detectable medical cause, but rather are caused by psychological factors? The answer is D. That's the classification, somatic symptom disorder. Okay? Then you've got what we used to call hypochondria, illness anxiety disorder. These people, they'll get on WebMD, they'll get on the internet, and they will research and research and research. And they think there's something, they're not faking it, but they will think there's something wrong with them when in fact there's not that much wrong with them. For example, they might get a little cough, and then they're like, oh my God, I've got a rare tropical disease that nobody has. Okay? Or a person, they might look at a freckle on their arm and go, oh my God, I'm going to die of skin cancer. Okay? These people aren't faking it. They're not somaticizing it, really. They might feel a few symptoms, but what they're really doing is they're taking very minor symptoms and they're going out of their way to think that they know more than the doctor. And then they'll, before the internet, they would get stacks of books and try to be doctors and stuff. Now the internet, they'll get on WebMD and go to the doctor and say, I have this, blah, 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 blah. And the reality is that they are exaggerating. Okay? So we used to call that hypochondriasis. Now we call it illness anxiety disorder. All right. So an individual diagnosed as having a conversion disorder would be most likely to show what? Okay, check your notes. The answer is a part of your body stops working, like your legs or your eyes. Craig is sure something is wrong with him, even though his doctor has not found any physiological basis for his complaints. He returns to the doctor every few weeks to report symptoms of new illnesses based on information he reads. Okay, obviously Craig has illness anxiety disorder, but how do you classify that? So what is the classification? The answer is somatic symptom and other related disorders. That's the classification. Okay. Kara witnessed a violent burglary. Shortly after the event, she was unable to see. Doctors could not find anything wrong with her eyes. Kara is most likely experiencing what? Okay, so a part of her body stops working, even though biologically it's fine. The answer is conversion disorder. Okay. All right, which of the following psychological disorders, and I don't want to go over this one right now. Okay, all right, now I want to talk to you about this. I've never seen this on the test, but what you have is factitious disorder. Factitious disorder imposed on self is when you do harm to yourself. Okay? So factitious disorder imposed on self is when you either fake being sick or you make yourself sick. Factitious disorder imposed on another is when you make your kids sick. Okay? So if you are purposefully making your little kids sick, then that's factitious disorder imposed on another. But if you make yourself sick, that's factitious disorder imposed on self. So I've got a few videos that I want you to watch. All right, so you may be familiar with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She and her boyfriend murdered her mother, and because her mom purposefully kept her in a wheelchair her whole life.
You got put in a wheelchair, and you were 7 years old, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did she tell you were going in the wheelchair?
I did get into a motorcycle accident with my grandfather, and it skinned my knee, and she took me to the hospital and then told me that the doctor gave her a wheelchair, and I have to be in a wheelchair now.
Forever?
Forever. She had me use a walker before the wheelchair, and then after that motorcycle accident, put in the wheelchair.
Why did she tell you had to be on a walker?
She said that I had muscular dystrophy.
But did you feel any different the day before you got the walker than the day you did have the walker?
No, sir.
You were able to run around?
Pretty much, yes.
And would you forget to get it and run into the kitchen?
There would be times that I'd forget to grab it and then go to walk, and then my mom would catch me and be like, use your walker.
I questioned Dee Dee about it, and I'm like, she can walk or not? You know, she's
That's
been in a
the
wheelchair
dad.
all her life. And, you know, the answer I got from Dee Dee was, you know, she had a disease she was diagnosed with, and it was going to progressively get worse, and eventually she was going to be bound to the wheelchair at all time.
Did she tell you when you went out that you were to stay in the wheelchair?
Yes, sir, she would.
But you knew you could walk.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever say to her, Mother, I can walk. Why am I in this wheelchair?
No, sir, I never asked that.
When she wasn't around, did you get up and walk secretly?
I did, yes, sir.
Did she ever catch you walking?
She did a couple times.
And what did she say or do?
She got so upset with me, she would punish me so bad. Like, she started hitting me with a coat hanger and telling me all kinds of mean things. She would tell me that she wished she had an abortion when she had the chance, that I ruined her life, that I have no idea how hard it is to keep up everything she built.
Did you understand that you being sick was necessary to keep up what she built? Because you got a house from Habitat for Humanity, you got donations, you got different things from people for being sick. So that was a source of income for her, right?
It was, yes. And I had no idea that I was a part of that.
You didn't know that you were a cash cow.
No.
Dee Dee got a house from Habitat for Humanity. They would have free trips here and there, free flights. She was getting some money from a couple celebrities. Their life was full of free stuff, I guess, fun stuff.
The Blanchard scammed many different charities and lied to many different charities across the U.S., including churches and support groups.
Dee Dee Blanchard was exaggerating her daughter's medical condition for financial gain.
You were diagnosed with epilepsy about this time as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And so they started giving you Tegretol, and it caused your teeth to crumble.
Yes, sir.
Did you know what was happening at the time?
No, I really didn't. I just didn't understand why my teeth were falling out. I had to have them extracted. I just knew I was losing teeth.
But you know now you didn't have epilepsy.
I know now.
You know now you didn't need to be in that wheelchair. You know now she was making all of that up. After you went in the wheelchair, you had a feeding tube inserted.
Yes, sir.
Did she tell you why?
My mother told the doctors that I couldn't eat, so they put a permanent feeding tube in.
Looking back, are you suspect as to what she might have been putting in that tube? Could she have been poisoning you in some way to keep you sickly?
All right, so that is a case of factitious disorder imposed on another. Now I want to show you an example of factitious disorder imposed on self. This woman here, she has been making herself sick for years. What she'll do is she'll take a syringe and inject herself with fish tank water and to make herself sick on purpose.
When my mom was sick, I felt sad, always, because I never knew what was going on. Dad would say, we had to take your mom to the hospital again. She's sick. I always wondered why she was sick, always.
I was a child who missed my mother, and then when she came home, I made sure she had food and was comfortable. I didn't have a normal mom to do things with. My mom missed out on quite a bit of growing up because she never went to any of our concerts, games, practices.
When most 12 and 13-year-olds are playing at the park or going to the mall with their friends, I was home taking care of my mother. When my mom is around syringes, it makes her feel weak, almost like an alcoholic.
I had never seen my mom inject herself. When I was 14, my dad told me, my sister, and my brother that she had been injecting herself with fish water. It was almost too crazy to believe.
When my mom's kidneys were failing, I remember the doctor saying that my mom had so many months to live. And that's really hard to hear. My mom said that she just wants to die, that she can't take it anymore. That hurts. That hurts me more than anything. It hurts me a lot to know that my mom could do this to herself, knowing that it's hurting her husband, her children. I am terrified to become a mother because of what my mother put me through as a child. It terrifies me. Terrifies me to death.
Amy, what do you want to say here?
I just want my mom to get help. I just want her to be healthy.
I don't want you to make her feel bad, but I do want you to make her understand that this isn't just about her. Shelby, what do you want to say?
I just don't want to see my mom die from something. And it's really affected our lives because she's not always been there.
What do you think about what they're saying?
All I've ever wanted to be was a mother. And I feel like I failed the only thing I ever wanted to do or be. I failed my children. It just suddenly comes up in my mind, and it's an obsession. And I have to complete the act once the obsession comes to my mind. Every day of my life, I fight this.
Well, I'm wanting to be sure that we're getting everything on the table here so I can make some comprehensive statements to you. You get that much of your responsibility fell on your daughter, Amy.
Yes.
You being the oldest, you've had to do a lot of mothering, right?
All right. Now, it said Munchausen. That's what it used to be called, but it is now called factitious disorder. Okay? Okay, so anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. I've never seen it on the AP exam, but whatever. It doesn't matter. We're not all about the AP exam. Okay? All right, we already talked about bulimia. All right, write this down. Today we're going to talk about schizophrenia. The classification is called schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. Hit pause and write this down. All right, so you need to understand what is psychotic, okay? And when I ask students this, they always say crazy. You know, okay, great, but out of your mind. All right, that's a little better. When you are psychotic, that means that you are hearing voices or you are seeing things that aren't there. Hallucinations, that's hallucinations. And also strong delusions. Andrea Yates, she had postpartum depression with psychosis. Psychosis meaning that she believed that the devil was coming for her kids, so she murdered them, all 5 of them. Okay, that is a delusion. And it's also a hallucination if she hears voices telling her to kill the kids. So that is what it means to have a psychotic disorder. There are some people who are so depressed that they get psychotic. They have hallucinations and they have strong delusions, like delusions of paranoia. There are some people who have really strong delusions but don't have hallucinations. That's called delusional disorder. Okay? I want to focus on schizophrenia. Okay? So first of all, before we talk about schizophrenia, you need to know what is a delusion. Write this down if you need to. Delusion is a false belief. Now, we're all a little delusional at times. A harmless delusion would be, I'm going to go to UT even though I only make C's on everything. Or I'm going to go be a Marine even though you're in terrible shape and you're not tough at all. That would be a delusion that's not very harmful. But a hardcore delusion, like somebody with a psychotic disorder, they might have a paranoid delusion, like the pizza guy is trying to kill you. Or you might have a delusion of grandeur, grande. I am in love with Beyonce and she is going to leave Jay-Z and she is going to marry me. That is a delusion of grandeur. Or how about I am the second coming of Jesus Christ? That is a delusion of grandeur. Okay? And now just for fun, Cowboys fans can be very delusional. Dallas Cowboys can win one game and it's like, ooh, we're going to the Super Bowl. That's how we are every year. Okay? So delusions are false beliefs. Okay? A hallucination. If you are psychotic, you might be having hallucinations. It's when you hear things that aren't there, like voices in your head, or you see things that aren't there. You might see things like a little girl following you around everywhere, but she doesn't exist. Okay, that is a hallucination. When the television starts talking to you directly, calling you a loser and that you should kill yourself, that is an auditory hallucination. Okay, and if you're having hallucinations, you could have schizophrenia, you could be on hallucinogenic drugs. And I learned that with marijuana, if you take edibles, you are more likely to have hallucinations than when you smoke it. Okay, how prevalent is schizophrenia? It's about 1%. Not everybody who has the genes, though, gets the symptoms. Okay? Write this down. What causes schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is a problem with dopamine receptors in the brain. Dopamine is complicated, but one thing that dopamine does is that it gives you a sense of awareness. So imagine having too much dopamine, and now you are so aware that you are aware of things that don't exist. So dopamine causes you to hear voices. Also, there is a genetic component to schizophrenia. It's not totally genetic, but it is partially genetic as far as we can tell. And also, and I don't know if this is a cause or an effect, but if you look at brain scans of schizophrenic patients, they tend to have what are called enlarged brain ventricles. If you compare schizophrenic brains with healthy brains, you can see that these holes in your brain are larger in schizophrenic patients. As far as I know, there are more dopamine receptors here in this part of your brain than anywhere else in the rest of the brain. Okay? So remember, too much dopamine, schizophrenia. Same thing. You've got two identical twins. This twin doesn't have schizophrenia. This twin does have schizophrenia. And that tells me the fact that you can have an identical twin, one has schizophrenia and one doesn't, means that schizophrenia is not totally genetic. Okay? But it also says that people with schizophrenia have enlarged brain ventricles. And that's all I know. What are the symptoms? Hit pause and write this down, especially the red. So you've got positive symptoms of schizophrenia. Positive doesn't mean good. It means that there is something in there that you don't want to be there. For example, hallucinations, or delusions, or disorganized thoughts like paranoia. You also have negative symptoms. That means that there's something missing that you want to be there. For example, if you are absolutely having a flat effect, meaning you have no emotions whatsoever, good or bad, then that is a symptom of schizophrenia. Also, and this is going to sound similar, catatonia. Now, I've heard that in an adjective form. I've heard it as catatonic, but catatonia can mean that you just sit there and drool for hours and hours and hours. But it can also mean that you can sit there and repeat yourself a lot. When I was a kid, I went to an old folks' home, and there was an old woman who sat there, and this is what she said. I like Joe. I like Joe. I like Joe. I like Joe. And she sat there for hours saying the same thing over and over and over again. She was catatonic. Think of the show Stranger Things, season 2, 11's mom. How she sat there and she kept saying the same things over and over again. Rainbow. And then she'd say some numbers, okay? 11's mom was catatonic. That doesn't mean she was schizophrenic, but she was catatonic. Okay? So people with schizophrenia have disorganized thinking. They might have fragmented and bizarre and distorted with false beliefs because it's like static. It's like your brain is going. Okay, I don't really understand it or know how to explain it too well. But it can lead to delusions, paranoid thoughts, can lead to hallucinations as well. All right, so let's do this question. Delusional thinking is central to which of the following? The answer is schizophrenic disorders. Okay. Bernice says, I am the ruler of Xylomek. I have come to your planet to marry my longtime lover who has been communicating to me through the television waves. Okay, this one's a little tricky. On the quizzes, it looks a little better. The best answer to this question is B, delusional. I get it, hallucinating sounds good too, but delusional is a better answer because it's a false belief. But I can see why you would say C as well. So on the topic of hallucinations, what's going on here? Hit pause. What's going on here? So you got a normal brain here. Then on the right, you have a schizophrenic brain. What part of the brain is more active in the schizophrenic brain than in the normal brain? That's the back of the brain. So you need to know, what does the back of the brain do? You need to have that memorized. So if the occipital lobe is active in a schizophrenic brain, then what does that mean? Okay? The answer is you're having a visual hallucination. If your occipital lobe, your visual cortex, is active, then that means you're having a visual hallucination. You are seeing something that doesn't exist, even when your eyes are closed. Other facts about schizophrenia: men get it earlier and more often than women do. Men start showing symptoms around the age 16. Women start showing symptoms around the age of 20. People with schizophrenia do tend to live in cities more often. We're not sure why, but we think all the stimulation can make you have symptoms. But if you live in a boring environment, you are less likely to get symptoms. People with schizophrenia tend to smoke cigarettes a lot and drink alcohol a lot, and they do tend to smoke marijuana a lot too. I mean, wouldn't you, if you had voices talking to you all the time? I need to show you the video so you can understand why somebody would smoke marijuana. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right now. Okay? This is what it's like to have schizophrenia. Now, pay attention, because you're not seeing anything important yet. Meaning, like, so look at the newspaper. It says, "Man wins Lucky Lotto." And everything's about to change.
Worthless.
He's waking up now.
Oh, the phone woke him up. Don't answer. They'll know who you are.
You're a waste of space.
Why are you so stupid?
A waste of our time.
Stupid. So stupid. Worthless. We hate you.
He's gonna pick up the phone.
They'll know if you lie.
Rain! It's
Something
rain!
wrong. Weather.
Now then get pizza.
Poison.
Coming for you. Pizza.
He's hanging up.
Do you hear me?
Don't eat. Out to get you.
Poison.
They know about you.
Camera was rolling when the armed gunmen entered the convenience store on 14th Street. The suspects were described as medium in stature with a slightly youthful demeanor. Anyone with information about this incident is urged to contact
They know. They know about you.
And in other news, officials have closed the northbound...
Time for med. Don't do that.
...due to a water main break. Repair crews are on the scene. Now here's a story out of Chicago from last night. Two men posing as maintenance workers nearly made it out of the Quick Bite convenience store with the store's ATM machine.
Make a list. Make a longer list.
Entered the store, asked for
you are ungrateful.
You're a waste of space. A waste of our time.
They were going to take the machine back to the
Getting
shop.
coffee now.
Don't drink it.
Sensing
Stupid. So stupid.
That smells awful. Don't drink that coffee.
When the clerk told the men he had called police, the pair took off and left the machine.
Why are you so worthless?
So, Scott, tell us how this weekend's weather is shaping up.
Something wrong.
You know what, Chuck? There's just no stopping the weekend weather. You hear that, Worthless? Weather's coming to get you.
Something wrong. Weather.
And what are you going to do about it, huh?
Something wrong.
You have to stop it.
You're just going to sit around with your stupid mouth open and do nothing?
You have to stop it. It's the weather. It's here for us.
Now he has to answer the door.
It's here for us. Do something. Stay in.
Pizza.
Stay away from the
No,
door.
stop the weather. Protect us.
Pizza.
You didn't order anything.
No, don't answer.
You're stupid to open that door.
He has to open the door now.
Here you go.
Don't do it.
You'll be in trouble.
Poison.
This is for you.
Look at his
This
eyebrows.
is for you.
He's working with them. He's part of the plot.
This is for you.
Shut the door. Shut it.
Don't eat it. Poison.
You're stupid to open
I
it.
hate you. We
Here are
hate
some
you.
items on today's activities calendar. And you need some activities, especially when you're lazy and you sleep too much. Stop staring at me. I know what you're thinking.
He knows.
You can't stop
They're
it.
coming for you. You know that.
Part of the plot.
Your mind.
It's because you're so ungrateful.
Don't eat it. Poison.
No, don't open
He
it.
has to open the
This
box.
is entirely your fault.
Don't eat it.
Don't eat it. Poison. Poison.
They're here, and it's all your fault.
Oh.
No.
They know it's you.
You're in
Don't
control.
open the door.
You hear that?
No. Don't open it.
Don't open it.
They're here, and it's all your fault.
You did it.
You should have used your mind to stop it.
Stop it. You have to take control.
Stop the door.
Hey, you all right in here? I called you. Why didn't you answer? I was like screaming, "It's Lorraine! It's Lorraine!" into the phone at the top of my lungs. What were you watching? Do you even remember? Did the pizza Oh! What happened here? Forget to take your medicine this morning. Well, you know it's not good to miss a dose. Well, it's not too late to take it now. Let's get back on track. And why are you standing here in the dark? It's a beautiful day outside. Let some sunlight in. You need to get outside and enjoy it.
So, hearing voices theoretically wouldn't be so bad if they were positive voices saying, yeah, you go. But unfortunately, people with schizophrenia say that the voices are always negative. They always say things like, kill yourself. You're worthless. I mean, the people who made that video did not make that up. The voices are always negative. So if I was constantly having hallucinations and delusions, I'd be getting high as much as I could myself. So marijuana does not cause schizophrenia, but we think that by smoking it, it will make you have symptoms sooner. That's what we think. Okay? All right, so a psychologist who bases his diagnosis of a man's mental disorder primarily on the presence of hallucinations and delusions is making a diagnosis of what? The answer is schizophrenia. Okay. How do you treat it? You don't need to write this down, but we'll get it next chapter with antipsychotic medications. After all, it is a psychotic disorder, so you're going to get rid of the psychosis, the voices, by taking antipsychotic medication. There's another way called TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. We'll talk about that in another chapter. Okay? All right. There are also called neurodevelopmental disorders. I think I saw one question on autism in the last couple of years. If you want to learn about autism, watch the show Atypical on Netflix. It is a good show. It is entertaining. Okay? I've never seen any of these other things on the AP exam, and I'm not going to ask you about them. Okay? And then finally, you have neurocognitive disorders, such as Alzheimer's. Dementia, I believe, is a side effect of Alzheimer's. It's like when you forget. And here's from the movie The Notebook. You got Parkinson's, the shaking disease. Parkinson's is actually caused by too little dopamine. Schizophrenia, too much. Parkinson's, too little. And then drug addictions are on here. Okay? All right, that is it. Thanks, guys.